This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The following will contain strong language, adult themes, and Mara. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, were you saying it's now?
Hi guys, what's goody? It's Tammy.
Hey, it's your girl Mara.
And this is the Not Too Much podcast. If you know,
you know. I
kind of gave no, like, oh no, sorry.
I mean, you can continue.
Okay. I was literally... It's been a long day, guys. I was saying that I was giving Nell sultry eyes when I was doing
no,
the
because you kind of went soft.
Yeah.
You went, and this. I was like, oh.
I did.
I know, because the way Nell looked at me, I was like, oh, damn.
there was a connection going on over there.
Today's episode, guys, I can't put it in like any sugar-coated terms. It's gonna be
an episode.
Something.
Yeah.
Period.
So for those of you listening or watching or however you're engaging, please engage. That's what I'm asking of you today.
Okay, girl.
I want to kind of start off first by asking you both a question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
What does it mean to listen meaningfully? Soak it in. Mull over it.
What does it mean to listen meaningfully?
Yeah.
Just off the cuff, initial thoughts.
Yeah.
To listen meaningfully, for me, would suggest that you're going into a conversation ready to understand as best as you can where a person is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And so... yes, physically hearing what they're saying and processing that, but then coming in with sensitive, open-minded questions to kind of explore what that person is trying to communicate to you. So, like, yeah, that's how I just, jumping into that question would associate, that's what I would associate with listening meaningfully.
No, I hear that. Mara?
Yeah, I would say there's a certain... if someone was to ask me to listen meaningfully, I'm kind of preparing myself to enter a level of engagement that is not just receiving what the person is saying, but actually formulating a response and just having an intentional conversation rather than just being like, yeah, I listened anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's... I will say it's an intense process, but that sounds like very dramatic. But there is intent behind the act of listening in that moment, and sometimes there isn't. But if for this context, yes, that's why I would approach it.
No, I hear that. The reason why I asked that question is because I think it ties in nicely to our first topic, which tend to be quite light, but I think this one... well, actually, I say tend to be. We do what we actually want to do. But the conversation that I want to have for our first topic is about privilege. And I think when these conversations around privilege happen, a common phrase that I hear kind of put out is that those with privilege entering in a conversation about privilege, it's better to listen than to speak. And I personally think that it goes a little bit further than that for me, especially in the context of privilege and how that affects people and society. It's imperative to listen than to speak. And I think in this conversation, do you feel like people, when entering into a conversation about privilege, enter into it listening meaningfully? Or do you think that there's an element of defensiveness that comes up, and maybe why? A lot of questions that I've actually just like put out in one.
All good questions.
But yeah.
All good questions. I think the thing that jumps out to me first when like hearing listening to what you said.
Okay, girl.
Is potentially unpacking what it means to listen and what it means to speak. Because I think when people say that phrase, listening doesn't mean you're silent. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you're a passive participant. It just means that your focus is more on appreciating and understanding another person's point of view, or the person who's, pushing out that perspective to you. I shouldn't say pushing because that sounds a bit aggressive, but sharing. speaking, I think when people say don't speak, I think what they're saying is don't speak over.
Mm-hmm.
So don't dismiss, don't shout over, don't push away the person we're here to, or the collective that we're here to hear from.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tricky one.
It is tricky
because if you're gonna come into a space where you're being welcomed, and that's key, you're being welcomed, you have to come with a little bit of humility, and defensiveness has to be managed. You have to manage that defensiveness.
Self-regulation.
It's not easy,
mm-hmm.
but if you can't manage that, don't go into that space, really.
Because I would expect that in a conversation where you're having to interrogate your own privilege, especially because in my mind the nature of privilege, recognizing it's depending on the different advantage we're talking about, it's something that you've likely overlooked, because until that conversation you haven't maybe realized how it has benefited you in certain situations. And so I expect you to be slightly destabilized by the conversation. I would rarely think that someone would come into the conversation, at least maybe in my opinion, and think, oh yeah, I can handle it, because I think it causes you to consider how your privilege in a situation has meant that someone without that privilege has been disadvantaged or marginalized.
If they've considered that ever.
If they've considered that. That's also point. Presumptuous on my part. But yeah, I'd expect it to be, in terms of the defensiveness and how to manage that, I'd expect you to be probably a bit destabilized with the initial thought. But like you said, to be able to manage how you approach that conversation with someone. And that's assuming, in the conversation in my mind, that between two people, the conversation's about privilege, where one person clearly has privilege and the other person doesn't. These conversations can occur in different ways.
I will say, when you were saying, like, your point, which 100% agree, what jumped out to me is that a lot of people feel destabilized when they expect to go into a collective to share their perspective about how they're not privileged and come out realizing how much they are.
Okay.
A lot of people think that they are the victim, and sometimes they are, but there is a totem pole. And sometimes, even though you as an individual or the groups that you're a part of do face less privileges than others, there are areas where you do have more privileges, and sometimes that defensiveness comes up when you're all of a sudden confronted with the fact that, I'm going to be listening more than I expected. I thought I'd have the mic, but it turns out I need to sit in the audience and take notes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that defensiveness jumps out because you were right. Like, you can't anticipate sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it hits you and you're like, okay now.
Yeah. No, for real. I also would, I think people actually do expect that they can handle the conversation more than they can, because like you said, I don't think anybody, no, take that back. I don't think some people who experience less privilege in other areas then expect the light to be shone of the areas that they do. And I think for some people, just the fact that they have less privileges in one area, they seem to think it cancels out or overrides everything else. And so when that's brought up and is kind of challenged, I think people get shook up.
Real shook up.
Real shook up and get real shaky up in there.
And kind of pulling from something that you both said that kind of sparked something in my head. The phrase, listen, better to listen than speak, this or that. My issue is, in a conversation, a reciprocal one at that, you're going to take on the role of both,
of course,
in order to engage. So even when we're understanding that these two ideas aren't mutually exclusive, they're not binaries, they can also coexist. You can have privilege in some areas and experience disadvantage in others. So there are going to be times in that conversation where you can both speak and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But do you think that that's something that people understand in their thinking, building on what you both have said? Because it's like we get in a position where it's like, okay, I'm listening, you're speaking, or vice versa.
That suggests okay, that when these avenues of dialogue are being opened up, that people are coming in with the right intentions, and that people are aware that they're coming in with the right intentions. Like, a lot of people will go in with a debate mindset to conversations that are about understanding.
Yeah.
So the questioning is not to prove anything. You're not questioning someone so they can prove why their experiences are valid. You're not questioning someone so they can convince you otherwise of your thoughts. You're questioning to understand. And those are two very different things. And I think sometimes in these conversations, people come in with a debate mindset of, I'm going to prove to you why you're wrong. And so I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to pry. I'm going to dissect in a very harsh and sometimes extreme cerebral way that you leave the person or the group who's sharing that perspective exhausted, tired, because instead of you trying to understand what they're saying, you're picking out all the reasons why they haven't convinced you. Like, this is not Dragon's Den. This ain't a sales pitch. But they're not trying to sell you something so you can be like, yeah, okay, I believe, I'll put 15% into that. That's not the case. But people go in with the mindset. And sometimes people don't realize they're going in with that mindset. I've been that person where I'm like, I'm coming in because I want to prove my point. And then you realize, nah, I didn't actually come in.
I think
yeah.
That's what the humility aspect that you mentioned is quite important. Because I think coming into the conversation, not to be humiliated. Humility. Difference. Difference. When you come into those conversations, it's to be able to allow for an additional perspective that you might not have previously considered, but may cause you to have to introspect further following that conversation. And the reason why I said that, still to me, the phrase better to listen than speak is still a bit too soft, probably because of the current times that we're living in, where I'm like, privilege is not a throwaway conversation. We understand it to have real direct consequences. And so that's why when it is the time to listen, I believe it is imperative. And I say imperative to allow space for people who have not previously had the platform, who are disadvantaged in some way, whether it's socially, economically, related to their identity, to have the position to speak. I don't know, this is just me stating this. There's no follow-up question to this. This is just me stating how I feel on this matter. Sorry, I felt really fired up.
No,
I can't lie.
Okay. How would you so what would you phrase instead of it's better to listen and speak? How would you phrase
good
it then?
question.
Do it, damn it. That's that's me.
Do it, damn it.
Do it, damn it.
Ow,
That's
okay.
it. How would you guys phrase it? Do you think that the term is okay as it is, or do you think that it's still loosely interpreted?
Shut up, man.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to me. I was like, hold it. Wait. That came a little bit too close after what I just said.
I was saying like just.
I
would just be like, I don't. I think maybe it is a good phrase because it does suggest that, you know, you'll get your time. It's not like you said, you're not coming into the conversation passive. You know how we defined how we would listen meaningfully before, and I was talking about like you come in and engage. I'm engaged to converse.
Yeah.
Maybe that is what stimulates that. Does that make sense? Because it's not saying either or, it's kind of inviting the two to the table. However, if you do need to add a little bit,
I think I can't believe I'm saying this.
Oh no.
I think we need to read.
Oh.
I think we need to educate ourselves before we enter these discussions.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying about the matter. You should. But I'm saying we need to educate ourselves on communication. I think we need to go back to the basics.
Yes, please.
Because I think a lot of us have to teach ourselves how to properly communicate with different groups.
That is true.
How to understand how we prefer to communicate, understand tone, understand how to question, and then you can go in. And sometimes that understanding comes through experience. I'm not denying that, but before we get to the listening,
empathy.
You gotta, and reading will do it. Fiction and non.
That's a note from all three of us, by the way.
Yeah. And you can see the bookshelf in the back.
You said you're going to crop it out. Welcome back. What a good episode it's been so far, hasn't it? Well, I know this isn't the first episode you guys have listened to. I know you've been binging for the last 6 hours of NTM. So let's take a break, shall we, and do a couple of things. Head over to Instagram and follow us at the NTM Pod, and head over to TikTok as well to follow us at the NTM Podcast. And give us a like, follow on every platform you can. See ya! Okay, back for another round.
Side into the topic.
I was like, get back up again. Because the way that we record it, we have to break it up. So you can finish one segment and think, okay, you're done for the day. Then you have to clock in for the next shift.
Oh.
Continuing on this topic of privilege, let's talk about men.
Oh, no!
Let's talk
about men. I mean, this is not meant to be a pylon. Actually, scratch that. Some of you man were running for Gunner the other day.
Gunner Run Club!
Hello?
We love you!
Talking about backstage passes. Okay.
We got Nando's and...
Yeah, as if we don't have a fucking
Why were you
Nando's
shaking?
every street. That's what they were doing. Come on, man. Come on, Gunner.
We got Nando's and this is community.
Waggling your
never
bum
ran a day in
at
their
Gunner,
life.
it's not community. But
Groupies.
it was...
This
Why did you say that like Phaedra? Loser. Wait, what were you trying to say now?
This might actually get us in trouble, you guys.
I know.
Oh my gosh,
Why
leg cramp. Maybe I should go running. Karma.
Honestly.
My leg's cramping.
Oh my God.
I thought you were joking.
That's the wrath of men. You see how they're bad
traveling through your legs?
Oh my, don't make her. Why would you do that? Breathe.
Men.
You know?
What, the reason for your leg cramp?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I think it was?
Yeah.
What?
I think the cortisol levels.
Please don't. Please don't.
Nah, I've been sitting in this position for too long.
But getting back to still the topic of privilege concerning men.
Okay.
Something that I rewatched the other day, because funnily enough, I did watch it when it came out, but I didn't expect it to still be a topic of conversation, the documentary, to the day that we are in now. Those of you might have maybe watched the Louis Theroux documentary, or maybe have heard about it in content. Into the Manosphere, I think the title was.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet.
Where essentially, for those that are listening to us and do not know, follows Louis Theroux interviewing male podcasters and influencers that create, I'm going to be real, misogynistic content, but are part of this larger like community called the Manosphere, which I guess from what I've understood from my research, it's based in like, from what they seem to be putting out, what they think they're putting out, teaching men how to be men, and various ways that men should have value. And I'm getting bored as I'm talking. Yawn. Like, okay. But
the way it went silent, because literally, I think I had all of us just zone out.
Now, remember that open mic that we went to when it got a bit awkward? So...
Oh, can we actually tell a story?
Go ahead.
So, okay.
Wait, what?
We've told you, but we'll remind you what happened.
So basically, me and Tammy went to this open mic thing. It was all going well. It was super cute. There were families performing. Like, it was a really great time, adorable, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, there was a final performance.
Yeah.
And the guy decided to do a spoken word piece, and it was basically just talking about the topic of male loneliness and male relationships and
Should I stop playing?
And essentially,
yeah,
he was going on and on and on about basically how women fail men.
That was the crux of it. Without even having to say explicitly, that is really what it was.
It was about how women don't do enough for men and how they leave them in the dust and they don't support them enough in their mental health and in their struggles. And so men have to do everything by themselves. And meanwhile, me and Tammy are sitting there. Because at first we were trying to get the gist of it. So we were like, okay, we can see where this is going.
Because we had enjoyed all the other performances up to the point.
And then he started speaking. And legit, like, you could feel our body language slowly start to go.
I looked at my girl. I was like, okay.
Side eye. So,
did you text me during
How long was it?
It was long.
How long was it?
It must have been about 4 minutes.
Really? Just
straight
spoken word.
I texted her. What did I text you again?
Did he rhyme?
I think you just texted me side eye or something like that.
We had a debrief after.
Yeah,
I would.
But I think it's interesting. I didn't even know I was going to bring that up today. But the reason why that is also related to the conversation that I'm planning to have during this topic is because there was a standout quote through the documentary that really sat with me. And that was like one of the, I don't want to call this person a groupie, but there's no other label to put it. But someone in the documentary who Louis happened to have like a conversation with, who essentially was a fan of one of the influencers, and he had caught him on the off to talk. And he mentioned this idea that what they're taught is that as a man, you have no value. You're born without value. And you have to like gain value in your life. No matter all the hardships and all of these different things that have happened to you, that's your default setting. You have no value. And, you know, interestingly with this episode, I had to kind of sit and think to myself, a lot of the things that I've heard spoken about, a lot of the men conclude it's because they are a man, rather than interrogating the reasons as to why, okay, you've experienced financial hardship in your life, or maybe as a black man, the barriers that have been put for you on race lines, rather than just concluding based that because you're a man, these things are happening, without looking at your intersections. And I know what you guys are gonna say to this, because I already know.
Are they listening?
No, I mean you guys as in you and Mara.
Okay.
So,
Men listening.
but I'm going to just repeat that question. Do you think things happen to men because they're men, or because of other intersections and other social experiences?
I think many things happen to men because they're men. I think men get a lot of privileges because they're men. I think they get away with things because they're men. But for the most part, do I think that there are a lot of ways that an individual in our society can explain away some of the struggles that they are experiencing. For men, gender is probably not the reason why. It's probably your class, where you live, different family dynamics that have set you up in an unfortunate position. Is it because you are a man? Maybe, but it's normally coupled with something else.
Normally, the gender part of it all is at the bottom. If we're gonna really talk about it, if I'm being for real.
Normally, the reason why you're not more desolate is because you're a man. That's your saving grace. And there's more nuance, obviously. But
yeah, but objectively.
But I think it's relevant to the first conversation that we had, because we were already exploring within that privilege and marginalization can coexist in the same conversation.
Yeah.
As in, when we're exploring this, do things happen to you because you're a man? Again, you're interrogating the whole spectrum of why things are happening to you, beyond the social advantage that you have by being a man in relative to the conversation that you're having. But what do you think makes that content so compelling for men to engage with?
Because you don't have to think about why what you're doing is harmful. You don't have to think at all.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, and this is really, again, it's not exclusive to just men. This is something that is widespread and prevalent within our society. It is so easy to consume any sort of media or any talking points that label you a victim.
I was about to say that.
And blame someone else.
Yeah, for your misfortune.
Like, it's so easy, and we all get caught up in it. But there is a violence that comes out of that rhetoric that's told to men that gets incredibly, it is scary. It impacts everyone else, and everyone has to move differently because of it. But it's always me, and we're told we have to approach it in a very sensitive way. We have to coax them out of this. We have to coax them out of, oh yeah, you're being told that we're to blame, we're the problem, and to lash out against us. But I have to treat you sensitively because you decided you didn't want to think today.
Or whatever.
And then my concern with also the feelings that I had when we were at that open mic night was that the conversation about male loneliness, or, you know, challenges in mental health for men, etc., and other maybe barriers that they're speaking about relevant to their experience, right? The projection was my point of frustration. Rather than interrogating the systems that have created inequalities for you or have affected areas of your life relevant to your intersection or maybe your experience being a man, because I'm not a man, you've decided to take that frustration that you have with your current circumstances and project it on to a further marginalized group.
Because they don't see us as marginalized.
Because on the flip side of that comment about as a man you're born without value, this will be the last time I will be saying things like this. I'm so sorry. To build myself up to steer this episode, I had to say things out of my mouth that I never say on a day-to-day. Mind you, disclaimer. But on the flip side, they were also saying, as a woman, you're born with value. And the value was signed as, you know, exactly, your youth and your fertility.
Basically.
You're basically, your anatomy is what the value is. Yeah. Your sexualized anatomy is where your value is.
That they take advantage of.
Yeah, because they believe it's their right.
Right, okay.
But yeah, pulling it back to, sorry, that was just a small tangent, but
I think when it comes to the lack of interrogating and the projecting out of these experiences and blaming other people, I think why there's a lack of sympathy is because you guys aren't doing anything about it. You want other people to do it for you. Whereas it's like, no, organize, interrogate, understand, educate yourselves, and come up with a plan. But it's always pushed off to women.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, my friends won't come to my birthday party, so I'm gonna go to a woman and I'm gonna cry about it. And because she isn't going to do anything about it, she's the problem. Women don't support me enough in my time of need. When more time, it's your friends that didn't show up.
Sorry.
Like,
no, and that's of a specific birthday party.
No, and we've all suffered. I know the birthday that you're talking about. Sorry.
So, no, I know.
So, like,
I agree.
When there's an issue, right? A male issue that's normally created by themselves, okay? Men created this issue. Cool. I recognize it. Male loneliness, a real thing. You guys aren't going out developing these friendships. And I get it's hard because of our society, but are you educating yourself? No, you're being like, well, women don't support us when we want help.
What are we supposed to be doing about it?
And then they go, why should I support you if you don't support me?
Yeah, but the issue with that, and this is where I think this is where they get really mad, is that women have cultivated their own support networks and their own support groups, and they don't like that.
No, they actively try to isolate women from it.
Yeah. And my thing is, it's like, no, okay, I'm not sitting here trying to claim to understand what it's like to be a man. I don't care to, but like, also respectfully, I have my own things to care about. I'm not going to understand where the struggles or the highs and lows and the woes of being a man, respectfully.
That's going to be like the highs and lows of high school basketball.
But guess who may? Yeah. Another man. And it's not, I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to try and turn around and cosplay what it is to be a man. I genuinely don't care what it is to be a man.
All I can do is, no, actually, on the topic one, all I can do is listen meaningfully.
Yeah.
And I can give my advice.
But that might not even be relevant to your situation. Like, that might help you. I don't know what it's like to be a man, so how am I supposed to know how to help you?
No, I think we do know how to help them. Because the guidebook, the playbook is right there for them. Male loneliness, you just need to make friends. And for you to make friends, you guys need to dismantle your idea of masculinity. You need to dismantle your ideas of friendship. You need to get vulnerable. It's right there, plain and simple for them.
It's very there, very simple, but I can't make that happen.
They have to do the work. And that's why it's the projection thing. Encouraging women or other marginalized groups to do that for you, because this is another angle. The way that heterosexual men treat gay men and queer men, trans men, when they are able to cultivate their communities and fellowship and be with one another,
because it's been shown.
You don't like that either.
Blueprints are there, and I'm speaking about a very specific type of man. Because I know in the comments, not all men. We've heard,
all
man.
right, okay, cool.
But enough men,
yeah, because there's enough of you that are apparently lonely. It's not just bob down the road and, like, you know,
a lot of men are lonely though.
Apparently all of you man in the manosphere are lonely. Respectfully, lying down next to me ain't gonna do shit for you. So
but there is a real, sorry, I was gonna say, and there's a real seriousness to this conversation. No,
I think my thing. Sorry, I will say my fear is though they're not being taught to lie down next to someone. They're being taught to take out their frustrations and anger onto women specifically, or any other marginalized groups. Anyone who is not a heterosexual straight white man, they're being taught to take it out on anyone lower than them on the totem pole. And so that's where my fear goes, because it gets violent physically and mentally very, very quickly.
And that was why initially when the documentary came on my platform, when it came on Netflix, and I viewed it literally on the day of the release, because I didn't know it had just been released that day, and then had initially on the first watched it, enjoyed, because I enjoy Louis Theroux documentaries, enjoyed it, but in terms of the topic, I already felt a distance, because I said, we have spoken about you know, toxic masculinity and a lot of these different topics regarding the manosphere, that we've had these conversations, but I think my apathy was already coming into the frame, because I said, I'm not seeing enough people do much with it. It's like, we're having the conversation, and those who have the privilege to actually push the conversation forward aren't doing it. So I just continue doing the work that I'm doing, and you know, but when I saw more commentary on it, interestingly, because I guess podcasts and spaces that I didn't see ever kind of speaking on those topics like widely were starting to have like the entry conversations about it. And I, at first, again, I was frustrated again, because I was like, this is entry, but I had to take a beat to say that just because it's entry doesn't mean it's not important for there to be a starting point.
We always need entry level. It's the Barbie conversation.
I was about to say like parallel to Barbie, when Barbie came out and people were saying, okay, this is like entry level feminism as a conversation, but it's still needed
because there were enough women that were impacted by the Barbie film to show that Barbie film was, even if it just laid out in the kind of simplest and purest form of how so many women were feeling. We needed that in mainstream media.
Yeah, it's the same way like now the conversation around natural hair is sparking.
Shout out.
What's her name?
Sharon.
Shoz. Yeah. Shout out her, man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I said.
What a girl.
A lot of people were like, they're real mad. We won't talk about that too much because that will
save
get
that
the
for season 8. Save that for season 8.
They ain't gonna like what I have to say.
Oh no, for real though.
It's about to get real.
Yeah, but you know what? I think sometimes I struggle because, in a similar way, when I hear like the same conversations being brought up, I'm kind of like, okay, like surely we have addressed this. It's kind of like even anything to do with like male loneliness or the manosphere or anything like that because there's this hysteria around how do we help the men, how do we help the boys, and I'm like, well, it is there in black and white. It's not actually as complex as
I think
it's complex, but it's not. We don't need to pluck something from the heavens.
A lot of this information isn't inaccessible. To be quite, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I've had to learn is not a lot of people have been taught how to research.
That's
not a lot of people know where to go for this information, and so it's priced out. It's real.
I think also I was conscious that even though the documentary did do it, the reason why I think also I disconnected initially is because I said, I don't want to watch an hour and a half documentary spotlighting male influences and their backstory as to why I should feel sorry for the way that they kind of spurt hateful content towards women, when there are moments to reflect on the real ramifications of this kind of content on women, on people from marginalized communities, LGBTQ plus communities as well. Like, there was a segment in the documentary where it spoke on how school teachers are concerned with the increased hostility that they're observing from their male students towards their female peers and like their female teachers as well. And that was like such a glossed over part of the documentary that I had to take a beat, because I was like, you know that this type of thing is really crazy, right? There are real risks and real consequences to this type of this attitude, this mindset. Like when we're speaking about femicide on a global scale, like that's why to me, I'm like, if you want to have the conversation, it's not going to be a light one. But as I said, it's a starting point for some. But yeah,
in a way, I think those things are a part of the conversation, but I think it was like I haven't watched it. I was surprised, to be fair. I didn't realize that he was going towards the influences of the manosphere. I thought it would be more an exploration of the victims of the manosphere.
He doesn't do that.
And I didn't realize that because and I think a lot of people have critiques around that, but I can't necessarily comment fully on it because
I would say if you know Louis Theroux, you know that his angle is to confront the perpetrators typically, and he gets stuff out. And to wrap it up,
because we could go on forever.
I think conversations are important to be had, but as we mentioned before, and this is not just with men, when something happens to you, it's great to think critically about why, and it's not normally attributed to just one thing about you. And this is everyone.
This is a call to action. Interrogate, introspect.
Do you have another eye?
Do it, damn it.
Do it, damn it. Okay, people, I've been Now.
I've been Tammy.
And I've been Mara.
And this has been the Not Too Much podcast. If you didn't know before,
you know now. Why did you go so...
I was trying to match her sultry vibe.
be a man.
You must be swift as a coursing river.
Be a man.
We must be strong as a great typhoon.
Be a man.
We must be some of a raging fire,
Mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
Dissonance. Be a man. We must be swift as a...
Be a man.
Are you a man?
Be a man.
Are you a man? Are you a man?
Be a man. Be a man.
Are you a man?
Don't fall into the manosphere. Don't fall into the manosphere. They're trying to take you for a dick. They're trying to
Be a man.
Don't be a misogynist. Don't be a misogynist. What's a man? What's a man? What's a man? What's a man? A man is not a misogynist. 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 Don't be a groupie.
Don't be a groupie.
Don't be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. Don't be a groupie. Oh, let's go. What? She said. She said. She said. She said. She said. She said. Yeah. No, gonna run club. Ciao.
Running for Gunna Wanna.
We love you.
We love you, Gunna.